All right, what's the latest with that lawsuit between the governor and the General Assembly? Governor Holcomb answered questions from the media after an event this week. Here's what he had to say.
If I wasn't confident, I wouldn't have filed it. Look, I took an oath to uphold and support the Indiana State Constitution, and so I feel like I have no other responsibility, quite frankly, than to do just that.
The governor this week filing a legal response to Attorney General Todd Rokita, who denied the governor permission for outside counsel on this case. Rokita's been in the news a lot in recent days, too, weighing in on multiple hot-button issues that have come up in conservative media circles in recent weeks, from an investigation into big tech to the debate over critical race theory and the fallout from the 2020 election. We're going to talk about it all now with our panel: Jennifer Wagner, Mike Murphy, Robin Winston, Tony Samuel. We start with Jennifer Wagner, the former communications director for the Indiana Democrats. Jennifer, your thoughts not just on this legal battle, but also the approach that the Attorney General has been charting here since taking office. State Democrats saying that they believe he's trying to set himself up for a run for governor.
I think that is probably an accurate representation of what Todd Rokita is doing, and this is what Todd Rokita has always done. I don't envy Tony or Mike having to weigh in on this intra-party skirmish, but look, Todd Rokita is someone who is always seeking the spotlight, always looking to talk about things that are, quite honestly, outside the realm of his role. And I feel a great deal of empathy for Governor Holcomb. He is trying to do what's right. He did what was right, or what we thought was right, for the most part in the moment over the last 15 months to keep our state where it needed to be during the pandemic. And now Todd Rokita just wants to go out there and make a spectacle of it. It's really quite disappointing.
Well, let's turn to Tony Samuel, 2016 vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign. Tony, your thoughts on this dynamic playing out here in the party?
Well, my first thought is, what do they say about karma? It's a word I can't say on TV, and I think again there were plenty of us that expected this kind of clash to take place. Maybe not this soon and at this kind of high level on an issue like this, but it's 5 months in. These two offices are going at it, and I think you're going to see this kind of thing for the next 3.5 years. I'm not sure who wins this. They both got some valid points. It's a constitutional issue and versus a statutory issue. Attorney General Rokita thinks he's got the power given to him by the legislature to make this kind of decision, and the governor and the governor's attorneys say that he doesn't, and that it has to be decided by the courts. I think this one's going to go quite a while because I think there'll be appeals as well. So we'll see what happens.
Former state party chair Robin Winston played a key role in the Biden-Harris campaign. Robin, what's your response to this whole situation?
It looks like Republicans fighting Republicans, Dan, and I'm not going to get in the middle of that squabble. Meanwhile, issues that matter at the kitchen table aren't being addressed. I've never seen a governor proclaimed a lame duck governor so early in this term. I mean, this guy's only been governor a few months. His attorney general's already taking him on. There's already infighting in the party. Meanwhile, we're trying to figure out how to get around the North 70 split so we can get that kind of thing resolved. Those are the more tangible issues that affect Hoosiers.
Another big issue that came up this week, of course, unemployment benefits. The governor rolling back some of those federal benefits this week. Let's check in finally here with former GOP lawmaker Mike Murphy. Mike, what do you make of the way the Attorney General has handled himself so far? And what say you also of your fellow Republicans serving Indiana in Congress, rejecting this January 6th commission this past week?
Well, the media, the public relations, the marketing strategy comes right out of Dan Burton deja vu all over again, frankly. Burton never saw an issue that didn't merit a press release. I don't know if this current attorney general will start shooting watermelons in his backyard or not, but I think he's following the same model. It's really a battle, Dan, between populists and conservatives. Eric Holcomb is a conservative. The people opposing him are populists. Those are two philosophies of politics that really do not mesh, and I'll stick with Holcomb.
Jennifer, what about this January 6th commission? Your thoughts on Congressman Trey Hollingsworth's vote for the commission and others like Congressman Greg Pence voting against it?
Yeah, I was honestly pleasantly surprised to see Congressman Hollingsworth's vote. Look, nobody, Democrats or Republicans, wants to keep talking about Donald Trump or honestly talking about what happened on that day. Those images are seared in our collective conscience as a nation, but we owe it to those officers, we owe it to our elected officials, we owe it to ourselves as a nation to find out what happened, to thoroughly investigate in a public forum so that we can protect our democracy. That was a terrifying day. And, you know, to whitewash it, to cover over it, I get it. Again, nobody wants to talk about Donald Trump. Certainly I don't, but this merits a full investigation, it merits the full commission.
Tony, your response to that?
Sure. Again, there's good points on both sides. There has to be an investigation. There has to be an independent, fair, transparent commission. I agree with Congressman Bucshon's points on that this doesn't look like it's going to be. So, you know, the conservatives, the Republicans, most of them think this is a trap, just like the impeachment trials and the Russian collusion fake investigation for all of those years. But, you know, Congressman Hollingsworth has a point. If not this, then there's going to be something worse as far as an investigation. There's a lot to get to the bottom of, but there's also a lot to get to the bottom of. And you talk about terrifying, the riots that took place all over the country, big cities and small, last summer and into the fall. And there, if there's going to be any kinds of investigations on January 6th, there's got to be on these riots, because these things were organized. That yes, a lot of it was peaceful, but a lot of it wasn't. There was over 2,000 police officers injured, over 30 people killed, thousands injured throughout the country, and that needs to be investigated as well.
Let's talk about some big headlines here in the city of Indianapolis this week. The city continuing to deal with record-breaking homicide numbers, as we've seen. Also, the mask mandate extended another couple of weeks. It likely, though, ends on June 7th. Robin, your views on the mayor's handling of these situations?
Well, first off, he's handling them. On the mask mandate, June 7th is the date that we'll all take a look at. He's listened to not only science, but medical reason and rationale about moving forward. On the crime issue, I think we need to expand this. I think we need to bring more people to the table. I think we need to make it a county-wide initiative. I mean, if our community can get together and bring a Super Bowl here and enlist corporate and private and philanthropy groups all together, working together, we can do the same to address this crime issue. It's bigger than just one side of town. It's bigger than just one demographic, and we need to address as a community-wide issue. I believe that the mayor will begin to do that very earnestly, very soon.
Mike, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the mayor's entire agenda and administration is slowly falling apart. It's like a house built on sand. You have the victims of the BLM riots this past summer. You have restaurants still not thriving in downtown Indianapolis or most of the city. And the latest headline is, which nobody's talked about yet, is Joe Hogsett plagiarizing Al Pacino in the movie Scent of a Woman recently. I mean, he has a law degree and 4 graduate degrees. It was not an accident, it was purposeful. Now, why is this important? It's a big story. Because Joe Biden had to leave the 1988 presidential race because he got caught by Michael Dukakis plagiarizing Neil Kinnock's speech. And then last week, the University of South Carolina president was forced to resign because he plagiarized Admiral McRaven's quotes. And so it is a big deal, and it's incumbent upon the mainstream media to dig into this and find out why Joe Hogsett felt he had to deceive the public.
Video of that speech emerging this past week alongside clips of that film. We're going to be talking with our panel again here at the end of the program. Coming up next, we'll talk about how that mask mandate in Marion County is impacting next week's Indy 500. We'll hear from IMS President Doug Goles after this.